Alright, so starting in the cottage garden once again, we have a new plot that we just got done today. We were originally going to till it, but we only have the till that goes on the end of like our like a drill battery size, and it's a rather large area. So instead we just cut it down extremely short, as low as the riding mower would go. And then we topped it with some compost we got from or aged compost from one of the feedlots here in town. And then put some peat moss and some perlite and mixed those together. Went ahead and planted in that, and then we're topping it with cut grass from last year to use as mulch and see if that might work a little bit better than using the wheat fabric like we did on the other side of the wind barriers. So most of it is corn. We figured out a little over 200 stalks of corn should hopefully grow. And then we have on the two long sides as well as on this short side, we have bean plants. Now some of them I know are bean bushes, and some of them were just, I'd saved like broken beans when I had made beans this winter. I had saved them in a bag and we planted those as an experiment. So we may or may not have a lot of beans. The majority of them, like I have the dragon tongue beans from Baker Creek. Those are just, well, when they're young, they're tender enough, you can use them as green beans. When they get older though, the outside gets hard enough, you can actually just let them dry on the plant and then use them as you would like pinto beans or something. So this blueberry plant is doing awesome. We're just watering over here usually with our oscillating sprinkler. There is a little bit of blueberry there. I'm kind of surprised Bowen hasn't found it, or the beginnings of a blueberry. Bowen likes to come out and steal blueberries as often as possible. And then this one has started getting a little bit of rust on it, rust leaves. I think the majority of this is just because there for a while we weren't getting it as watered as it needed to be. So I'm going to try to just make sure we're watering it a little more thoroughly and maybe mulch more around it now that it's more established. And then Chris killed a couple of my corn. I think we're going to have plenty though. They are starting to tassel finally. Something that you have to know about corn that I didn't know the first year that we planted it was the tassels, when the wind hits them, shakes the pollen down. That's what pollinates the silks, and each one of the silks connects to a kernel. So if you put it, say, I don't know, behind a really big evergreen tree that blocks 90% of the wind, you're not going to have very much corn to harvest. Don't ask me how I know that. So far I'm not seeing too many other plants that we planted up along here. We did plant like morning glories, hummingbird plants, any of the other ones. And then on the 4x4s, we had cucamelons planted, but I'm not seeing any of those. However, you can kind of see that the grass is kind of growing around the windbreaks. And I promise you, we are not getting shot at. It is July 2nd and we are not in a fire ban. So when you hear the big booms, it's just people setting off aerials that they can't see in the daytime. Alright, so some cars are getting bigger. They're getting caught up in our fence. Probably just going to have to trim some of these off, which I don't think Chris is going to be too awful sad about, because it really bothers him that we have a whole bunch of little bitty branches right in here, and then the rest of it's all like the bigger branches. The corn over here is looking good, but a lot of it didn't come up, and I really believe that it's probably because of the weed fabric that we put down. And Chris even reminded me, like, way after we did this, didn't we say we weren't going to do corn and weed fabric anymore? Because one, it's a pain in the butt to pull the stalks out, and two, it just doesn't allow it to grow as nicely. He could have reminded me of that before I did all of this. But, so that's why we did the other plot. That goes almost to our property line. There is quite a bit over towards the street, so the kids still have plenty of room right here to play for right now. Eventually all of this will be cottage garden and we'll have like fruit trees and nut trees and stuff. Not too many of the sunflowers came up, and I don't know, a lot of the Facebook pages and stuff that I'm on have said that they really have not had very good germination rates this year, if anything, no matter what company they buy them from. So I don't know if it's that or if it's just because we put them in the weed fabric, they're fighting us. I honestly don't know. So we don't have any sunflowers over here opening or blooming yet. There's a couple of heads on the ones by the fence, but there is a whole bunch open over in the veggie garden. Alright, so let's go inside the cottage garden and kind of show you what I've done last. Alright, so our coral bells are doing good. I tried a new method for planting cilantro because I apparently cannot grow the simplest herbs. Cilantro and dill just baffle me apparently. So I tried this new thing where you actually break the pods, the coriander open, and then you plant it that way after you've soaked it 24 hours. So I had peas planted in both of those pots and something ate them. I don't know exactly what, but something ate them. So I went ahead and planted cilantro in there as well. And I also planted some purple potted bean vines. So we might have a lot of stuff coming up in those. Or we might not have anything at all. I don't know. Asparagus is looking good. I'm thinking I'm going to have to trellis it though. Not that I'm planning obviously on harvesting it this year, but I don't want to wind up stepping on it, which is what's happening right now. So the watermelon and pumpkin, as I expected, have started to kind of expand everywhere. Vining plants like these put off a lot more leaves than they actually need. So what we did was we figured out where the female flowers or the fruit were, and we cut off all the extra limbs or vines that didn't have fruit. And then on those vines we did drastic trimming of the leaves, and you can see down here I could really cut quite a bit more of these off. This one was really tiny when I was doing it though, so I didn't want to I didn't know if it was going to get fruit. But see, there's a baby fruit, there's a watermelon, and so I'll have to come back out on a regular basis and trim them. And then I just used my clear clips and attached them to the fence. They may or may not hold the weight. If they don't, then I'll take them off. Not a big deal. Horseradish is still looking amazing. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I'm kind of tempted to try making like a pesto out of this, kind of like you would with basil, and see if we like it or if it would be too peppery. I tasted some of the leaf just raw, and it just really kind of reminds me of spinach. So it might be, if I don't like the pesto idea, I might just harvest most of the leaves and put them in the freezer for spinach for smoothies. But the asparagus are happy. They're getting nice and tall, but I'm worried that we're going to wind up stepping on them and break a whole bunch of them off. So here's another watermelon that I did the exact same thing, and I wasn't all that particular about it. I wasn't making sure that I did everything correct, but like you can see, there's a little bitty baby watermelon on this one. So these are going to be more of an oval as opposed to the round over on the other side. And then I wasn't planning out trellising when I planted these, and so I planted this pumpkin all the way over here. And so I did trim the majority of the leaves off of the main stalk. I left them towards the new growth. And then as it grows, I'll just continue to trim, because the ones that are closer to the roots are going to be turning yellow and drying up anyway. Our bee balm that Bowen planted a few weeks ago is thriving. It's just getting bigger and bigger. And then we have our sweet potato vines that are very happy. I'm hoping that these start producing some length. So I'm hoping that the sweet potato vines start gaining some length on them so that I can wrap them up around the post. I'm not growing them necessarily for the sweet potatoes themselves, but more for the decoration of the vine. And then we have this pumpkin that goes off in 3 different directions. Okay, 3rd time's a charm. So we left this one with the long vines. I did drastically cut the leaves, but at the ends of each of these there's at least 1 pumpkin, and I didn't feel like I wanted to cut those off necessarily. If it gets to the point where it's causing an issue, we might just let it vine into the corn or put a trellis up. We have a bud, or a couple of buds, on our gazanias here. The ones in the vegetable garden are actually blooming, so those shouldn't be too far behind on that. And then we had a couple of random things. I think this is going to wind up being another gazania. I'm not positive. It's not very happy right now. And then this, I don't remember planting, but I'm pretty sure it's called horseweed. It's in the lily family, I believe, but it should have these really pretty purple and pink flowers according to my plant finder app. And then somehow we got a corn planted underneath our trellis. I don't know. We did go ahead and trellis this pumpkin and start having it go up. This one has lots of little babies there. There's one there. And I want to say there's another one farther. Oh, yep, right there underneath that leaf. So that one's just full of them. Oh, there's another little baby one that just started down there. And then this, I need to come out and trim the leaves. This is another loofah. I thought it was a zucchini when we first put it in, and then it didn't look like it was going to live. And then we came out randomly and it was really tall, or really long. So we put it up on this trellis. It was the original thing we put on the trellis. And then, like I said, using my plant finder, again, we realized it was a loofah. So we have a loofah here, and we have a loofah over in the veggie garden. And then we have just some ornamental grasses along with some like plain regular grasses that are just growing. My lilies, they got buds, but they never actually bloomed. I'm not sure why. This one is actually, there's one down in the ground here that's trying to come back, but we walked through this area so much I really just need to uproot it and plant it somewhere else. Rhubarb is getting very, very large. I have a little bit of pink on these leaves, and everything that I've read just says to twist it off and that it'll be fine. And then our sedums are expanding like crazy. I've been pulling more and more off of this thyme. You can see some of it's flowering now. I've been pulling it off and drying it, and then putting it in a mason jar. Our mint, as mint does, is expanding rather nicely, and our hollyhocks have settled in well from transplanting. This lily is still where it's been. I'm not exactly sure why it's not doing anything. And then for this trellis right here outside our bedroom window, we planted some more of the purple potted pole beans, which is not an easy thing to say. So we're letting those come up a little bit before we wind up putting the mulch back, just so that it doesn't have to fight as much. The sedum in the blue pot is looking really good. Our mint in the corner is expanding really well. I only had put like 2 or 3 clumps in there, and it's really, really happy. This daylily is just apparently an overachiever because it's been blooming probably now for 2 weeks straight of different blooms. And so far none of my other ones have. And then we have marshmallow and stuff in here, but it's not very happy. I don't think over here, because of all the shade, it's getting enough sun. So I might just have to find a different plant to put in there. The boys were supposed to come over and weed this area. I don't think they did a very good job though. So I did put some of the baby hidden chicks in there, and so far they're not dead. We definitely need to water everything really good tonight. And then in this other blue bucket, I do have some bee balm toothache, purple opal basil. I have, I think, some cat grass, and then also some regular grass in there that we need to get pulled. But this rose, you can see the red leaves are all new growth. I'm thinking I might start trimming it back and trying to propagate from some of the semi-hard wood. And just see, because I would like roses elsewhere, and they say that July and August is the months to do it. So, then we have over here, I did get 2 delphiniums from our local Dillons. We have a dark blue one there. Of course, it doesn't have flowers yet. And then a little bitty plant of the light blue and purple one there, which once again doesn't have flowers yet. My mint, I've been coming out, this was just one little stalk, and I've been coming out and just pinching it right above that flower. And then I can take this in and I can dry it. But by pinching it off like that, it's making it expand out so it'll be nice and big. And then back behind that is my yarrow that I went ahead and bought from Dillons because mine didn't come up. And the same thing with this mint. Just as it comes up, I go down a flower or so and I pinch it off. This isn't even going to cover like one of my trays, but it'll expand it out. And then we had some volunteer zinnias finally come up over here. We sprinkled zinnia seeds everywhere, and these are the first zinnias that have actually come up. So